Art Studio 5, I'll be sharing a little bit about Greek and Roman art with you. And then in our studio time together, we'll be making these awesome, squishy, colossal columns. Let me show you how.
Let's take a look at some Greek and Roman art. Today we're going to focus on architecture. Here you see the Parthenon in Athens, Greece. It is the most famous Greek temple constructed for the goddess Athena. It was built in 447 to 438 BC and made of limestone and marble. Today it is a museum. Here is the Pantheon in Rome, Italy. It is the most famous Greek temple constructed to celebrate all Roman gods. It was built in 126 AD and made of concrete. Today, it is a Roman Catholic church. Because the Parthenon and Pantheon sound so much alike, here is my trick for remembering them. I say the Pantheon was made in Rome and has a dome. In architecture, columns were invented to support ceilings and are named by order. The three principal orders are Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. Classical columns traditionally have three main parts. The capital is the top of the column, and it may be simple or elaborately decorated. The shaft is the main part of the column and may be smooth, fluted or grooved, or carved with designs. And the base of most columns, except for the early Doric column, rests on a round or square base, sometimes called a plinth. In the Greek world, the first order was Doric, whose columns were wider at the bottom and had simple capitals but no base. Ionic columns stand on a base and have a capital in the form of a double scroll. Corinthian columns are usually slimmer and taller, stand on a base, and have a richly decorated capital, usually with sculpted flower and leaf decorations. These three all have vertical fluted carving.
Our studio time has arrived, and today we will be working on Ionic and Doric classical order, or columns. Let me show you what I had in mind when I designed these for you, because I wanted to make it in such a way that you could remember what the name of each one was. So here's your Ionic column, and I kind of made him in like a little monster. He's got eyes in his curly cues over here, and these little fluted pieces in his column are his teeth. So I hope you would remember that this is an Ionic column because he's got monster eyes, big monster eyes. And I made a Doric column here for you, and we put a little door on it, decorated it with a welcome sign. And inside, if you open the door up, you can see the rest of the column. So this is a Doric column. Notice the Doric column is very simple, where the Ionic column is getting a little bit more detailed and fancy. We're going to make the Ionic column first. Here I have some brown craft paper. You can also use a paper bag or regular paper, scrap paper, whatever you have around the house. If you don't have any of the materials that I listed in the material sheet, I don't want you to be discouraged and not try the project. So even if you sketch it on a paper, make a mini version, do whatever size that you have, just so you could try it, okay? So this is about 15 inches, I would say, and I'm going to draw inside about 12 inches, and then we're going to trim around it later. I'm using a Sharpie marker just so you can see, but I would recommend you using a pencil to start, just in case you make a mistake that you feel like you want to erase, okay? So we're starting with our Ionic column with our monster eyes. So you remember that is an Ionic column. You're going to start with your paper doubled up with a crease somewhere. If it's on the top or it's on the side or it's on the bottom, that's fine, but you want to make sure that you have a double layer because you're going to need a front and a back for your puffy, squishy, colossal column. All right, So our first step, once you have that crease somewhere so your papers don't move around, is we are going to draw a part of a rectangle. So we're doing the sides and the top of a rectangle, just like this. Underneath that, we're going to draw our curly cues for our column. A snail shell type shape, if you will. And then we are going to draw it across in a straight line and repeat the same shape, but it will be reflected. So you're ending up looking like this. Looks kind of like a mustache even, if that helps. Okay, following that step, we are going to draw in this double line that you see here between the curly cues. So let's do that. 1, 2. Like so. All right. Following that, we're going to add the teeth or the flutes to the column. We're going to try to fit 4 across. Try to make them about the same size, starting where the double line and the curly cue meet each other. So we'll do 1, 2, eyeball the spacing so you get about 4 across, 3, 4. So we can see our teeth and the eyes of our ionic column already coming in. Now, we are going to draw lines straight down from the beginning of the tooth all the way down on the left side, and then the same thing on the right side. So let's do that. Straight down, straight down. Okay, how are we doing? Following that, we're going to make a staircase for the base of our ionic column. All right, so we're going to do 1, 2, 3 steps on the left, like this. And on the right, we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. And draw a line straight across to connect the two. Now remember, I know that you're using pencil, so if you're finding a mistake that you're not happy with, just erase it and fix it. Try not to be too hard on yourself. It's only paper. Okay, at this point, we're going to add the details to our column. So I'm going to draw a line across the bottom of the teeth area, just like this. And I'm going to color in the negative space between the teeth. Let's add in what would be the flutes to this column and finish off his details. All right, so under each tooth, you want to add a long rectangle. To the staircase that we drew in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can shade these in if you like. And I would like you to connect the stairs and draw in some lines as if, but not going from edge to edge, just in between where the stairs would be, just like so. Okay. And like I said, if you would like to color in the flutes of your column, you can do that. I'm going to do that for this little guy, for this ionic column. Okay, once we have our Ionic column done, we're going to create our Doric column, which is a lot simpler. Obviously, Doric columns are very simple compared to Ionic columns. So let's look at our Doric column here. Okay, It has a door on it because it's a Doric column. To help you remember, it's Doric. So we're going to start with the inside of our column first. I'm going to show you the simple steps to create this guy. Once again, you want to have your paper folded, creased on the top, on the side, on the bottom, so you have a double paper. On the top, we're going to draw and start off with a simple but a little bit thicker rectangle. Just like this. I'm going to start at the far end of our rectangle on the left, and we're going to arch it in a bit and come down. And we're going to do the same for the right side. Arch it a bit and come down. Okay, so we're looking like this so far. We're going to draw a straight line across to connect, because Doric columns usually don't have a base in classical order, so we're not giving this guy a base. We're going to draw in a double line a little bit below our first original rectangle, kind of like a collar on our column. And we're going to give this Doric column some flutes as well. So remember how we made the flutes for the Ionic column? We drew in long, skinny rectangles. We'll do 4 of those as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think I actually like them colored in, so I'm going to color mine in again. There we have it. We have our Doric column. Now, I have an extra piece of brown craft paper here. You can cut another piece out of your paper bag, or you can cut another piece of scrap paper. What I'm going to do is eyeball a size approximately as large as the width of the base of my column. And I'm going to make it about a ½ inch bigger than I actually drew or marked out, because that is going to be folded over and glued down to my column to be a door that will open and close. I'm going to put a big doorknob on my door just by drawing a circle about halfway down on the right hand side. I'll put a highlight in it and then color it in black. If you would like to draw a wreath or a welcome sign on your door, you can get creative and draw whatever you like. On my original piece, you can actually see that I drew a little wreath, so if you want to draw a wreath on yours, I would say go for it. Okay, so we're just going to put this off to the side right now. Here is where we're going to do a little bit of cutting. So we're going to make sure that our 2 pieces are still together with our crease. We're not going to be cutting our crease off yet. This is what's going to hold our project together to make sure that both sides are even for stapling later and stuffing. Okay, so I'm going to cut this guy out. And you know what I'm going to do? If you can see the sample, I'm not cutting exactly on the lines that I drew. I'm leaving a border about 1 inch around on each side to allow for room for stapling and for puffiness for our super colossal squishy columns. So here we go. Remember that you're leaving about 1 inch around each side, and you are not cutting on the crease. Don't cut on that crease, okay? My crease is on top, so I'm just going to leave a little bit more than 1 inch there, because we will trim that off later. But for now, we need everything to be held together for stapling and stuffing, because we are making our squishy colossal columns. I'm going to demonstrate on this one, and then we will do our Doric column the same exact way. Now here's where your stapler comes into play. About a ½ inch above your lines that you drew, you're going to staple all around. And the staples are going to be pretty close. Okay, so continue doing that around your entire column. And this is like sewing if you've ever sewn a pillow before, because we want to leave some space where we can add our stuffing. I'm going to show you guys what kind of stuffing I have. So I'm going to talk about that while I'm stapling. The stuffing that I have is just polyfill, but you can use paper. If you don't have that, you can use Easter grass, newspaper that's bunched up, tissue, toilet paper, anything soft that you have around your house. So if you don't, like I said before, if you don't have all of your materials, just use what you have in the house. All right, so I'm leaving pretty much the entire left-hand side open, just like this. Whoop. So you could see, because we need this side open for stuffing, okay? If you close it, or if you leave it too skinny of a hole for stuffing, you're gonna rip your project. So I'm going to take little pieces. Now we're not going to stuff the whole thing in there. You're going to take little pieces of whatever you have for stuffing, crumple it up if you have to, if it's tissue or what have you, and you're going to just fill it in. You don't want to overstuff, because then we won't be able to staple later. And these are really fun projects. You don't only have to make columns out of these, but you can make hearts, you can make your friends any kind of paper squishies and send them in the mail. That's fun. Okay, once I have my stuffing inside, I'm then going to take my stapler and finish stapling around the edges to seal everything up. So here we go. Remember, don't overstuff, because then your squishy will rip. So be careful with it and don't overstuff. So you could see how important that inch border is around the edge, so we have enough space to staple. Okay, now this top area is where I had my crease. That's what helped us hold everything together and line it up straight. I'm at this point going to trim it down a little bit so everything is about the same size around the edges. I'm going to curve those edges a tiny bit. And there you have it. You have your Ionic column. I'm going to finish up the Doric column. I'll put it on super fast speed so you can see how I do it, so you can keep watching if you need a refresher. Thank you so much for stopping by to join me in this episode at Art Studio 5 about Greek and Roman art. I hope you learned something, exercised the creative part of your brain, and enjoyed making your Ionic and Doric columns. Join me next time. Here's an Art Studio high five for you. Bye.